The training hall of the Galactic Combat Academy fell silent as Anna stepped onto the elevated platform. Around her, 73 species from across known space watched with varying degrees of interest through their optical sensors, compound eyes, and bioluminescent receptors. Max stood among the crowd, his arms crossed, a knowing smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Instructor Vex, a towering Crinarian warrior with exoskeletal armor that had withstood plasma fire and gravitational anomalies, regarded the human female before him with what could only be described as contempt. His mandibles clicked in amusement. Another human Vextal S translator broadcast to the assembled students, soft-skinned, no natural weapons, no bioluminescence for communication in combat darkness, no venom sacs, no metamorphic capabilities. He circled Anar slowly, his 6 legs carrying his massive frame with predatory grace. Tell me, cadet, why should your species be granted entry into the Enforcement Corps when you lack every advantage evolution has provided the rest of us? Anna's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. She had learned in her 3 months at the academy that humans were considered a curiosity at best, a liability at worst. The fact that Earth had only recently achieved faster-than-light travel made them the galactic equivalent of country bumpkins. Perhaps Vextal continued, a demonstration is in order. You will face me, barehanded, in a standard combat assessment. If you can land a single strike, you pass. If not, he let the threat hang in the air, back shifted uncomfortably in the crowd. He had been through this exact scenario 2 months ago and had barely survived it. He knew what Anna was about to face, and unlike him, she hadn't grown up in the rough neighborhoods of New Chicago. She was from a research colony. For crying out loud, a scientist's daughter. Begin, Vextal commanded. The Crinarian moved with shocking speed for something his size, closing the distance in a fraction of a second. His armored fist swung toward Anna's head with enough force to shatter reinforced Durasteel. What happened next would be analyzed by xenobiologists for the next decade. Anna's body moved. Before her conscious mind could process the threat, her hand shot up, not to block, but to redirect. Her fingers found the joint in Vextal's exoskeletal armorer, weak point no cadet should have been able to identify in real time and pushed. The instructor's momentum carried him past her, off balance for the first time in 17 years of teaching. But Anna wasn't done. Her breathing had changed. Max noticed it immediately. It was faster, sharper, like a predator that had caught a scent. Her pupils had dilated, nearly swallowing the blue of her irises, and her skin even from a distance. He could see the flush spreading across her neck and face, blood vessels dilating, flooding her muscles with oxygen. The medical scanners embedded in the training hall began chirping frantically. Vextal recovered and attacked again, this time with all 4 of his primary limbs. It should have been overwhelming. It should have been impossible to counter. Anna ducked under the first strike, twisted away from the second, and then did something that made the entire hall gasp in their various ways. She didn't retreat. She advanced, moving inside Vextal's guard where his size became a disadvantage. Her fist connected with the instructor's thorax joint, a spot that, until that moment, no one had realized was vulnerable. Vextal stumbled backward, his translator emitting sounds of surprise in 17 languages simultaneously. Impossible, he managed. The medical readings. What is happening to her? On the monitors above the training floor, Anahar's biometric data painted an alarming picture. Her adrenal glands had released a cocktail of hormones that would have been lethal to most species. Her heart rate had spiked to 200 beats per minute. Her pain receptors had been chemically suppressed. Her reaction time had decreased to levels that violated the Academy's understanding of neurotransmitter propagation. It's called adrenaline response, Max called out, unable to contain himself. Our fight-or-flight reflex. When humans perceive a life-threatening situation, our bodies temporarily override normal limitations. Increased strength, decreased pain, sensitivity, enhanced speed. An Illuvian scholar in the crowd extended 3 of its sensory stalks toward the combat platform. But the energy cost, the cellular damage, this would require weeks of recovery for any rational biology. Max grinned. Humans didn't evolve rational biology. We evolved on a death world where everything was trying to kill us. Our bodies learned to save that conversation about consequences for after we survived. On the platform, Anak and Vextal continued their engagement. The instructor had shifted from teaching mode to genuine combat, and yet the human cadet matched him. Not with superior technique or form, was still that of a novice. Not with greater strength. Vextal could still crush her with a proper hold. But with something the galaxy had never properly documented. The sheer chemical-fueled refusal to quit that had allowed humanity's ancestors to persist in its hunt megafauna to exhaustion across prehistoric plains. Anna's knuckles were split and bleeding. Her uniform was torn. Bruises were already forming along her arms and ribs. But her eyes held that same dilated, almost feral intensity. Every time Vextal tried to create distance, she closed it. Every time he pressed an advantage, she found a counter. Not because she was winning, but because her body had chemically decided that surrender wasn't an option. Finally, after what felt like hours but had been only 90 seconds, Vextal raised all 4 primary limbs in the universal gesture of cessation. "Enough," he said, his translator carrying a note of something that might have been respect. "I have seen enough." Anna stopped immediately, her chest heaving, sweat pouring down her face. And then, as Max had known would happen, the adrenaline began to fade. Her legs wobbled, her hands started to shake. The pain from her injuries came flooding back now that her body's natural painkillers were depleting. Max was already moving, catching her as she collapsed. "Easy," he murmured. "The crash is always the worst part." Vextal approached slowly, studying Anak with new eyes. "In 300 cycles of teaching, no cadet has ever pressed me so fiercely." He looked up at the assembled students. "Let this be a lesson. Humans may lack natural weapons, but they possess something perhaps more dangerous, a biology that will destroy itself before accepting defeat. They are walking, talking examples of mutually assured destruction." He turned back to Anna, who was trying to stay conscious through Max's support. "You pass, Cadet Anna. Welcome to the Enforcement Corps." As Max helped her toward the medical bay, a Valorian tactical instructor murmured to her colleague, "We need to revise our threat assessment matrices. If those are their training limitations, what happens when they truly face death?" Her colleague's chromatophores flickered with concern. "I believe we just witnessed that, and I believe the galaxy is not prepared." Above them, hidden in the Academy's administrative tower, the Commandant watched the recorded footage for the 7th time, freeze-framing on Anna's face at the moment her adrenaline response had peaked. In her eyes was something that had kept humans alive on a hostile world for millions of years, something that had driven them from stone tools to starships in the cosmic blink of an eye. The galaxy called it many things: determination, stubbornness, insanity. Humans just called it survival. And now, for better or worse, that survival instinct had joined the stars.